when connected to Facebook. So that creates a problem. So what Brian Solis is talking about is instead Generation C, which isn't about, it's based on interests, it's based on behaviors, and it's not an age group, it's a way of life. So essentially anyone who is connected is part of Generation C. So it's Generation C that we want that we should be talking about. So we should be talking about interests and behaviors rather than demographics, rather than people who have a certain income or a certain age. And what's important with Generation C, I think you already heard, is it's an audience with an audience of audiences. So we're actually talking to people who are then repeating our message to other people. And this is also requires us to talk in a way so that they really understand our messaging. And then Brian Solis talks about the ultimate moment of truth, which builds on Google's model of the zero moment of truth. And essentially this comes from all marketing. So in all marketing, you're talking about the first moment of truth when you stand in the store in front of a shelf, you see a product and you're like, oh, I'm going to pick that brand for whatever reason. And then you talk about the second moment of truth, which is when you're using the brand. So for example, you're using the shampoo, that's when you have the experience. Google then redefined it to the zero moment of truth, and this is like when you are when you're in store, when you're asking on Twitter which brand should I buy, or you're asking people you're asking your friends on Facebook, is this product any good? So that would actually be the zero moment of truth. But that wasn't enough, and I like what Brian Solis did because he defined the ultimate moment of truth, which in everything essential is basically the zero moment of truth, but the ultimate moment of truth can also be someone else's, it can also lead someone else to discover your brand, even before they know that they have a need of it. So we have the zero moment of truth when I ask people, is this brand any good? And people say, yes, this is a good brand. So then I'm thrown into this cycle, and I try the product, and then in the next step, I become someone else's zero moment or ultimate moment of truth. But I can also throw them out of the loop. So if I ask, is brand X any good? And someone says, oh, avoid them, they suck. The zero moment of truth actually throws me out of the loop, and we want to avoid that. So what Brian Solis is, he created the inputs of the influence loops, which means that we can no longer abandon, we can no longer think about, oh, so once the customer has bought a product, we're done with them. We need to make sure that we actually keep them back in the loop and make sure that we connect to them even after they have had their zero moment second moment of truth, and even after they become the zero moment of truth for someone else. So what he talks about is that to earn customer retention, trust, and loyalty, it is a cost. So we need to make an investment, and it also is an investment in relevance and relationships. So what we need to do is we need to design proactive experiences. So instead of this was sort of the relation for me, instead of reacting, answering on Facebook, conversing on Twitter, we need to create proactive experiences, because that is the way that we will create a stage where people will actually help us market our products or services without us having to be present. All we need to do, we still need to be there, to be able to be reactive, to be able to respond to people who have questions. But we will no longer need to do all of the marketing ourselves. Instead, people will do the marketing if we manage to design the proactive experiences. But it's not enough, because we also need to make sure that the experiences are really shareable in order for this to happen. Because it doesn't matter how good an experience is if people cannot really easily share it. Yesterday, I got an answer. I ordered business cards from moo.com. I love moo.com, and they make nice business cards. I posted my business card on Facebook, and someone asked, "Oh, where did you order them?" And I knew that if I gave them the link, my personal link, they would get 10% discount. I tried to do it on a cell phone. Has anyone ever tried it? I almost tore my leg off, so I had something to throw at them. It was such a frustrating experience. So it doesn't matter how good the product is, because I could not. It was impossible on a cell phone to actually get the share link, unless you actually typed it in by hand. So you need to make sure that the experience is also shareable, and not only proactive. So, what he's talking about is that the cost of reacting to experiences is larger than the cost of proactively defining experiences, at least in the long run. Except that in the beginning, especially if you already have processes in place, if you already have a company, existing structures, it will be expensive to change that. But once you've changed that, it will be the process of defining the experiences will save you money in the long run. So we need to take a customer-centric approach as an organization. And the first thing is recognizing that people own the experience. It does not matter what you think about your product. It doesn't matter what you think about the experience. What matters is what the people using it think about the product. And if, as soon as we are in an organization, I think that this is the problem with being too immersed in an organization, because we start thinking inside out. And we start defending. So whenever someone says, this sucks, or when the company says, but we don't want to be in social media because there's so much negativity there. I'm like, wow, you're missing a huge opportunity. If there's lots of negativity, you're getting feedback on stuff that doesn't work. So this is the first step. You need to be customer-centric. You need to realize that this is their experience. What can you do with your product or service to change that experience? If you cannot do anything, I'm sorry, but then you're screwed. At least that's my opinion. I wouldn't want to work with a brand that says like, oh, we don't want to change. And that's about it. No amount of responses can fix a broken product or a broken service. So this was, so after having read this book, I had, does anyone here, is Karin here?
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Karin. I'm going to use your company now as an example. No, I should say I've stayed at Scandic hotels. I actually really love the hotels. I do, and I'm often at Scandic. I'm often at Scandic Anglia in Stockholm. But this was another experience. So I'm an American Express customer, and when I paid my yearly fee, I was like, oh my god, I hate paying yearly fees. So I bargained with them. I was like, what can you give me for me paying 1,500 crowns for this card? And they were like, well, we can send you a voucher for a night at Scandic Hotels. And I'm like, wow, that's perfect, because I travel some, so that would be good. So I got a voucher for a night at Scandic Hotels. I forgot about it until I was going to Denmark to be with my boyfriend. So this was just 8 days or so before the trip. And I was okay, so we'll be in Denmark. Let's stay at a hotel because it will be a nice getaway from everybody. So I went in and I tried to use the voucher, and I couldn't use the voucher. I did not know how to use it. So I had to go on Facebook and ask them, so what do I do wrong? And there's a problem because they instead of having a product that's really easy to use, they needed to put time and effort into giving me the answer on how to use the product. Having said that, they were really fast. I was impressed because this was like at 9 in the evening on a Thursday, and I got a reply, which was kind of impressive. And then I tried to use the voucher. So the first thing I do is I search for hotels available in Denmark. So this is Copenhagen, this is central Copenhagen. This is basically where I wanted to stay in one of these places. And as you can see, when I was looking for this, there were rooms available. And then I entered the voucher and got this back. This were the rooms that were available with the voucher. So all of a sudden, instead of being this area, which you saw on the last screenshot, which is the city center, I could be out at the airport, or I could be out even further away from the city center. And I asked them, well, wow, what is this about? What does it mean? How can there be rooms available, obviously, if I pay, but not with your own vouchers? And it turned out that there was no real good reply to that. I know that Karin is working hard on that afterwards. But this is a problem, because this, to me, this creates a huge problem, and this is not an experience that I would want my customers to have. If I give a promise that this is a voucher from me, I would want that voucher to be worth more than money than someone who comes with money in their hand, because this person has already paid in some way. I would want that to be more valuable, because that is sort of a brand promise, and that is what I would have preferred. So, you know, in a way, this was a very good example. And then when I was going to Thailand, I had an experience from the other side, which was actually refreshing, because most of the time, companies that were created sort of before the digital shift, they often have problems with structures that prevent this from happening, prevent a really good customer journey to happen. Holiday Phone actually surprised me. They had a really simple ordering procedure. I was surprised. They still need to work at that because it's still a bit too bloated. I think that we have Pat is not here, but this year I think. But if he was here, he could say a lot about the UX of the page because it needs a bit of work. But it is a simple ordering procedure. Even my mom could actually order a SIM card for her Thailand trip from this. They don't sell me things I don't need. So they actually sell me a SIM card, and they say that if you this includes this, but it doesn't include that. So if you want this, you have to buy it separately. They make it very clear for me when I order it. But the beauty of it is that they don't send the package until a week before I'm leaving. So even if I order it a month ahead, I will get it a week before I leave, so I don't misplace the package. You know, the ticket syndrome. Oh, I'm putting my ticket in a very good spot, and it's the last place you look, which is a brilliant thing to do. And then in the package, there are step-by-step instructions for someone who doesn't read the manual. They're almost too detailed, but they tell me what to do when I get to the airport, when I'm on the plane, when I arrive, and when I come back. So it's really easy. I don't have to be afraid that I'm missing out on something or doing something wrong. And the most beautiful thing, I get a reminder text when on the day I'm leaving. Don't forget to forward your calls to your new number. And when I get back, don't forget to cancel your call forwarding, these are really simple steps, but I would say that this is a customer-centric journey. They will be thinking about the customers instead of thinking about their own processes, which I think is good. So that was the presentation, and now I have a couple of questions that I would like us